everybody, and welcome to the Reality Flash. My name is Mike Lim, and I'm here to bring you the flashiest breaking news in the wide world of reality TV. And today, the Traitors has pulled up a hood on a new season of the popular reality series that's taking the US by storm. But this time, we're out in the daylight, meaning the stars are not around us. More information about what that means in a bit. But first, to quote a member of the recently wrapped season of The Traitors, I would never be one to fish for likes. We all know this. It's public information. But I'm always one to fish for subs and for tips. So, of course, therealityflash.com. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast to make sure that any news like what we're talking about today that sort of comes out of nowhere ends up showing up in your feed. So you are up on all the news going on in reality television. And of course, a rating review that's left there would be greatly appreciated. And again, as I mentioned, with all these scatterings of information that come about in this day and age, I need your tips more than ever. So just tips at therealityflash.com. If there is anything you might see out there in reality TV news that you want me to talk about on this very podcast, including rather sudden announcement of a burgeoning of the Traitors US franchise. Of course, it has become one of the most popular reality shows, if not one of the most popular shows, period, in the past few years. And there had always been some sort of questions, as we'll get into, as to, okay, we know the celebrity version of the show has sort of become the part and parcel, but what if we did away with the celebrities and left the game in the hands of a bunch of people that are new to reality TV? And indeed, it seems like that question has been answered. Before we get into what the news means proper, I would not be talking about this show if we did not have in our presence the Duke of Deception, our in-house expert on all things Traitors, or in-castle expert, I should say. It is the one, the only Pooya Zamfikili.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me here. This is wild news, and I'm happy to be breaking it with you here over on The Flash.
Yeah, so just to set the stage here, because again, the Traitors, I think, really came to prominence and word of mouth popularity in the past 2 years when the show really relied on its celebrity casting, filling the castle primarily. And listen, you can quibble with what a term celebrity means when it comes to certain casting types, but still, they want to go with people who have some sort of renown to them, whether it's a reality TV star outright or people who have had myriad on-screen appearances in a variety of ways. But Pooya, people might not know that when the Traitors first arrived on American shores, it did not fill the castle entirely with names.
Yeah, at that point, we had gotten two other franchises that had been born, the UK one and the Australian one. Both of those were civilians, just regular people that were brought in to be on the show. The US, in effort to make waves and be putting people on notice, kind of went a different route. They hit us with a half and half, Mike. They hit us with a handful of reality TV stars that had already made a name for themselves, and then a handful of brand new people, unassuming people who you would not know, but you're about to learn about.
So when it comes to the creamer in our coffee, we went from half and half to whole milk right now, Pooya, for this upcoming season, as it was announced at the time of recording this yesterday, August 14th, at the Televerse event, which is a series of events that the Television Academy puts on in the lead up to the Emmys coming next month. Of course, with the Traitors being nominated quite a handful of times, as it was last year, there was this big panel that was hosted by Alan Cumming. It actually featured a good amount of standout titular Traitors from the past few years. We had Sari Fields, Phaedra Parks, Kate Chastain, the previous mortal enemies of Boston Rob and Bob the Drag Queen. But the big news coming out of this was the reveal that there would be a second season of The Traitors to air in 2026, but this would be a cast filled with entirely civilians. There would not be, unlike the first season where it was half and half, this would all be quote unquote regular people, oops, all normies, perhaps, to the point where you out there can apply to be on The Traitors right now. TheTraitorsUS.com. There's a big old casting notice right there where you can submit your video, your own pitch as to why you deserve to play. So we could talk all about, what this might mean for the franchise in general. And before we get into, I think, a lot of the past precedent on this that was set outside of the US, Pooya, what was your first reaction to this? Because you said you were surprised by it. Was it more so the timing of the announcement or the announcement itself?
The announcement itself, mainly for two reasons. I feel like the minute they started from season 2 onwards making a full cast of Celebrity, it became very clear to me that this is a slam dunk of a show. I believed in it. The world is now also backing it. It's becoming the number one reality TV show in North America.
It put our boss on for the upcoming season.
Exactly. And so I was like, okay, they're definitely like the Celebrity thing worked. I feel like I credit the challenge with this, with making their seasons a crossover event or bringing people from other reality shows. I feel like the Traitors put that even on the map further the way they did it. So it was like, okay, they clearly like this formula. It's working for them. Why would they ever go back to a 50-50, let alone a full-blown no more Celebrity? But I felt like it was always a slam dunk to, okay, well, you're doing one season a year. Make it 2 and make one of them regular, double the show, and no one's going to, it's not going to cheapen your product if you have a civilian version. It's not going to make people watch the Celebrity one less. The Celebrity is still there. You're taking a chance on people who you don't know, who could make a name for themselves, who could become franchise players that you don't anticipate. But I remember Alan specifically talking in an interview, and this is why I was surprised by this, Mike. Alan's feelings towards a season of non-Celebrity was like, well, the celebrities kind of know what they're doing. Like, they're coming in, they've got the personalities already. It felt like from Alan was like, there's not a lot of prompting need to be done. They're cooking. We don't need to teach them how to cook, which is very fair. I feel like for a television product, it is infinitely easier to have known quantities who you know are going to make a splash or are going to make entertainment happen. But then, we've watched so many seasons where there are duds on the show that do not know how to be in front of a camera or do not know how to play the game, at least, to make that part fun. So it's harder when you're betting on an unknown quantity in a normie, so to speak. But in seeing this interview and this panel and him talking about how, well, they are going to want the money a lot more. It's going to matter more to them, which means they're going to play out. I'm like, okay, I'm happy. Sounds like Alan has had to change a heart as well. So I was shocked because I never anticipated it to happen, but I'm also naive for that, Mike, because I feel like Traitors, more than any other franchise, when we've voiced things we don't like, or at least when I've thought about it, or anyone else has thought about it, they will end up patching it. They'll end up fixing the bugs. So this shouldn't be surprising to me that people have been saying normie season, where's it at? And now they're like, okay, we got you. Here you go.
Well, not to mention the fact that the Traitors as a brand has a lot of recognition to it. Despite the fact that it has celebrity casting, we have talked a number of times about how many people's stocks have risen instrumentally because of being on the Traitors. It sort of has become what Dancing with the Stars was and sort of now is currently, of like, okay, it actually can sort of get you back in the spotlight, especially if you sort of had your heyday on TV, years and years ago, or if you're a Dylan Efron type who was sort of more so known for behind the scenes stuff and is now prominently in front of the camera. So it does make sense on paper for them to do 2 seasons a year, right? We are used to this with Survivor, The Amazing Race. We see this occasionally happen. Again, The Voice, Dancing with the Stars used to do it back in its heyday. They would do 2 seasons a year just to bank on the excitement. I believe Alan confirmed in that panel that it would be sort of a winter spring season and a fall season. So basically, the Traitors US season 4 that we know has already shot, that we know the cast of, including our beloved Rob Sister, will still be airing in, the beginning Q1, I suppose, of 2026, like it has been the past few years. But instead of now waiting a full 9 months until we get another round of it, we get a nice little fall baby here in the form of this civilian season. What I'm so incredibly intrigued by as a longtime reality TV fan, Pooya, is I feel like the usual pipeline for these products is that you start with the civilian version, and then it either gets so popular or it falls so much off the radar that they're like, okay, let's do a celebrity version. This was the case with Big Brother, both in the US and the UK. It was the case with The Apprentice. There are Survivor seasons internationally that have done this. And so it's a fun little reversal on this where, yeah, it did start with a half and half thing, but the show largely banked on filling a cast full of celebrities And now, instead of branching out and doing all celebrities like other shows have done, is now branching out to say, aha, but this one has no celebrities on it. That's the twist.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like for the last couple of years, it feels like, okay, the Traitors US is a platform not for reality TV hopefuls, not for hopefuls to play the game. It's for people who have already established themselves in some capacity. It's like a new arena for all the all-stars of all the other shows to come together and like fight it out. And every other show, like you said, you become celebrity on there once you've been on there as a regular person. So it didn't ever feel like we were going to end up going this way, but I think also that should be credited with why we're getting this normie edition is the fact that from like season 2, season 3, they really established the brand over here in America. Like it really became a big show. So much so that and you and I, we live and breathe in these reality TV circles, Mike. But every now and then, with your short form content algorithms nowadays, I find myself seeing what the populace is seeing. And Traitors,
the people on the street.
Exactly. There are two shows that often make it to the pop culture mass like population. It's Love Island and it's the Traitors. And I guess Love is Blind if we're going to talk a little more about reality TV. But the Traitors was like the one show that was unlike these other, like the love shows that really started becoming a part of like popular culture with everybody that, I feel like I've seen more people getting into Survivor, getting into Big Brother as a result. So I feel like I would credit it with bringing a lot of people back into this fold a little bit.
It's a little bit of a rising tide to that point, and that's why I'm intrigued to see when we have an all-civilian cast, will they become sort of big stars? As you mentioned, sort of like these Love Island and Love is Blind cast members have become. Is this going to be one of the many pipelines to becoming an influencer? Now, when we talk about an all-civilian cast, Pooya, yes, this is very much out of the ordinary for the American version of the Traitors, but our version is very out of the ordinary when it comes to the global version of the Traitors, because while we have seen some seasons in like Australia and Canada use a handful of celebrities, by and large, they have banked on the civilian-only format. Talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, the UK, which for me is my favorite of the franchises, but
Agreed,
I mean, no offense to any of the others. I love them all. I really do. But the UK has banked on civilians specifically the entire way through. And it's been very fun. The characters they bring together have been compelling. The storylines have been good. The drama's been there. The intrigue. We have had some of the best game players come out of the UK as well, I would argue. Some of the best traders I've seen, some of the best detectives I've seen. So they are living proof that you do not necessarily need the quote-unquote celebrity to make it work. The UK is thriving. And the UK went the opposite of the US here, where they were like, okay, now we'll add a celebrity season. Yep. That's coming next month. So we got, they're also adding a little bit there, but for by and large, it is civilian specifically. Canada has kind of gone by the way of US 1. It's 2-season run so far, soon to be 3rd season coming soon, is that they've kind of done the half and half. I don't think it's like an exact, like, all right, 22 people, 11 here, 11 there, but it's like 7-8 people are from various shows from Canadian television or US television, and then the rest are regular everyday people that wanted to play the game. And then you've already mentioned Australia, we truly it was a handful. It was like 1 or 2 people. Like this wasn't a half and half. This wasn't even a 80-20. It was almost like a 90-10 mixture in Australia. But I mean, all these franchises rely heavily on civilians first. I will say New Zealand, it kind of was the other way around. New Zealand season 1, a lot of comedians from around New Zealand were featured on, and I didn't really know, because when I'm watching an international show, if I don't know your like media, you're like all regular normies to me, I guess. But then Liana is a huge fan of Taskmaster, of every franchise, and she was like, I knew everyone on this cast. I was like, okay, all right. So they went a little bit different, but I mean, then season 2, I believe, was a lot more just mostly regular people also.
Yeah, so I will say that, I'm not nearly as much of an avowed expert about the Traitors as you are. I predominantly focus on both sides of the pond here in the US and the UK. And, I always talk about how they're two very different types of ways of producing the show that are kind of yin and yang in terms of like what you want. You very much mentioned this very aptly before, that the Traitors US kind of feels like this Super Smash Brothers of reality TV,
Yes.
and that both the performances themselves from the cast and the editing are a little more over the top. And I say so lovingly. It's a little more soap opera-y. The emotions feel like incredibly heightened. It feels very dramatic. And not to say that the UK version isn't dramatic at all. It's dramatic in a very different way, in that like everything feels so grounded because you can tell that like these people are so truly wrapped up in the game. You know, for them, the entire idea of being in front of a camera has kind of gone away within those first couple of days. And so they truly find themselves getting sucked in. I won't get into too much about the first season, but like that's what hooked me entirely on the entire franchise, was watching UK season 1, where it was a brand new format. Nobody knew this from a hole in the wall. And so you see people try to figure this out as they go along, and especially make these like incredibly tight relationships where they are just heaving sobs as they vote each other out. It really goes to show, the impact that this type of format can have, which again lies a bit in contrast to the US. And that's where a lot of my questions sort of lie as to how this is going to be received. Now, look, I will also say, I think the success of this civilian version depends on a lot of things. I think the predominant thing it depends on is casting.
Yes.
With no offense to, the non-reality stars that filled out the motley crew in season 1 of the US, you could argue they were not necessarily cast to maybe be stars in their own right, or, to take over the game.
What?
I know I'm speaking blasphemy. Apologies there. But I think if you are creating an all-civilian cast, what is so appealing about something like the UK in particular is like, you have these people of all ages, of all backgrounds, specifically from all different types of jobs coming in. Feels a little bit more diverse than, again, you look at these celebrity-laden seasons where it's like, okay, all of your jobs are pretty much like content creators in some way, shape, or form. So what I'm really interested in, Pooya, from an American perspective, is that, again, a lot of people only know the Traitors through specifically seasons 2, 3, 4 coming up, which again are produced in a bit more of a, an over the top style, and feature people that got their, allowed viewers to sort of get their feet in the door. Oh, I love Kate Chastain. She's on this show. Let me check it out. Do you anticipate that people would follow this format to an all civilian version if, their favorite reality star isn't alone, just or isn't there just on name alone?
I think that's going to be the big test with this season 1. It's it's put up or shut up time. Y'all wanted the civilian season, we're giving it to you. Are you showing up if you're not on the season? Like, I think that's the big question, because I think for a lot of people, they get their foot in the door with a celebrity they like. If that celebrity leaves early, do they leave with the show? Maybe. That's entirely possible. We've definitely heard people complain and say, he's out, I'm not watching anymore. Okay, goodbye. Have fun. So we've definitely seen that. So then when that's not attached, will people keep watching? I think you have to ask yourself, and I think we can see this a little bit based on how much, you mentioned earlier, how much celebrity is to be gained from being on the Traitors, is that, okay, people have been converted to watching Survivor now. People have been converted to watching Big Brother. I know people that have been converted to, watching the entirety of the Housewives franchise since Traitors, since meeting some of these people. So I feel like if that's happened, you've got the bug. I think you are interested in watching this show. I think you're interested in meeting new people. Because I think, let's talk about it this way, Mike. Again, I was about to say you and I, but I think more you in this one. So let me speak on you for a second. You are more tapped into most of these reality TV stars than most people, right? Some of us, we know all the Survivor people very well. We know all the Big Brothers. Some of us know both of those. Some know the Housewives. But not everybody knows everybody. It's very small pockets of people that know everybody. So for the most part, you are typically watching it for the 1 or 2 people you do know, or more, depending. So to me, if there's a cast of 22 people and you know none of them, you could argue that that's almost as close as a celebrity if you knew like 2 people, right? So you knew 5% of the cast, now you know 0%. That's only a 5% difference. You know what I mean? So give it a shot. I do anticipate, however, Mike, I still think less people will tune into civilian, at least initially. until, because let's rewind back, and I won't say episode numbers or anything. When Traitors UK started, there was a specific moment that took the internet by storm.
Yes.
And what happened was word of mouth spread like wildfire. You need to watch this. This is peak reality TV. Everyone should be checking this out. And I think that's how a lot of people got put onto the Traitors, was through word of mouth like that. So if you cast the right people and immediately we've got some good times happening, then boom. Also, if they wanted to, and I'm not saying they should do, but if they wanted to, Mike, we've had Dr. Will be a part of a mission just by sitting there. Bring a couple of these people back, put them in the trailer. Boom. People are tuning in to see those people.
That's what I was wondering, because we also had, in this most recent season, Parvati and Kate Chastain show up for a portion of time. Like, I could see a world where any people from that panel in which Alan made the announcement, show up, especially from the more, and this is a role that Boston Rob has been used to a couple times, more of a mentor role of hey, we're going to either sit on the sidelines and do snarky commentary, or you get some time with us to find out. Hell, maybe if they pick the Traitors, they get to do a little bit of a Traitors roundtable, quite literally, with some of these past alumni to be hey, you get your pop of this guest appearance. The people get their appearance fees subsequently, but also they get to find out from some of the quote unquote greats what they need to do to successfully be a traitor.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a great way to inject more eyes into it, or at least bring some of the people who are celeb only over. Because again, it's funny though, because the reality is a lot of other shows, like you said, start as civilian first and then celebrity second. And I think I've believed in the Traitors product. I feel like it should. I wish it, hopeful that it could have stood alone on its 2 feet if it was all started civilian, but we won't ever know, because that's not what we started with. But the fact that we are where we are with it with celebrity, I think it's got a lot of goodwill right now. It's got a lot of positive energy behind it. So I think people will flock to the civilian season. I think also having them be on not around the same time is great. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. So once March hits and the season's done, I got to wait another 6 months for another season. I'll wait 6 months versus 9 months. I will do that. So.
Well, something that we should note as well is, not only is the cast makeup changing, not only is the timing of the season release changing, the location of the season is changing. I'm not talking about the filming location. I think we will still be back in that formidable castle in Scotland. Maybe, they're not going to do I imagine they're not going to film, back to back to back. I know they do US and UK back to back. I think, again, they're going to be able to use the off season a bit to film this new civilian season. But Pooya, instead of being aired entirely on Peacock, we are going full broadcast, as this will be the first Traitor season aired in full on NBC.
This is interesting to me because, and I'm not very well versed in the TV world of it all, Mike, but Peacock is part of NBC.
Yes, it's all under NBC Universal, yeah.
Yeah. But this is going to go similar to how a Dondi would be, where it's on the television show, it's on TV first, and then probably later in the night, it gets put on to Peacock for viewers later. But it doesn't premiere on Peacock. This is a TV first product, which is intriguing to me because, again, I'm not well versed in this. Are there more eyes on TV numbers, or are we at a point now where streaming numbers are way more elite than TV numbers?
I can say from personal experience, I do feel like if you took average charting broadcast show and average charting streaming show, the average charting broadcast show would still probably have more numbers, just because despite what you might talk about sort of in our own modern day circles, there are a huge amount of people that still just watch broadcast television. Yes. But again, we have seen so many times all these blurbs about how the Traitors is the #1 streaming show on Peacock, the #1 streaming reality show. These streamers don't put out their numbers, so we have no idea what sort of the cross comparison is. So I still think, again, if it does well, it would have a good amount of eyes on it. Now, we should say this is not the first time that it has made the jump from a reality TV property perspective. You mentioned Deal or No Deal Island. That's exactly what happened between season 1, which was Peacock only, and season 2, which was on NBC. And, the lack of a renewal announcement for Dondi goes to show that, maybe that jump did not necessarily work so well. I do feel like, unlike Dondi, the Traitors does have more recognition to it. But I think they are hoping on at least, a pretty weighty amount of people tuning in. What should also be noted is some of the greater restrictions that come with broadcast in comparison to streaming. The fact that, you are restricted to a certain hour, hour and a half, 2 hour time slot. So now it's like, there's the more variable run times that come with being a streaming show. With a broadcast show, it has to be exactly, 42 minutes and 35 seconds if it's an hour-long show with commercials. So that might constrain a bit more of the editing. And of course, Pooya, sadly, the FCC will be all over the Traitor civilian version's asses. We would just imagine, like, the infamous Janelle Sandra spat, "You're an effing traitor, no, you're an effing traitor, drink that effing water" argument with just bleeps over it the entire time.
That's going to break my heart. That's like, the iconic fights are not going to be as memorable if it's 17 beeps in the middle of just adjectives. That's not going to be ideal. Now, that being said, no, I don't think they would ever put, like, it's not like the uncensored version is going to be on Peacock. Like, it's probably not going to.
I don't know. There might be. They certainly. I feel like there have been other shows, maybe like Housewives. They've done this where like they'll air it on Bravo, and then like if you want to watch the maybe it's like the uncut, uncensored version, go over to Peacock. That could be a fun way to promote it as well. And hell, that's if Traitors fans are devoted enough from an NBC Universal perspective, that's like double the engagement. If you're getting to them to essentially watch the episode again just to hear people cuss.
Hey, that keeps that Peacock subscription too. It's like, you never know what you're going to get on the bonus side of things. Yeah, so that's very interesting to me. I'm very intrigued. I think the other thing to talk about, Mike, is we don't know what day, like what time slot it's going to get. I think that's going to matter quite a bit on its impact.
God help us if it's Wednesday at 8.
I'm not ready for the Monday Night Wars of reality TV for me. That would be brutal. It's like, oh, the show I'm backing fully as a podcaster, and the Traitors going head to head against the show that has been appointment television for me for as far back as I can remember. So one of the only few that I watch without fail. That would suck. Keep it. Here's the thing: your release is already Thursday for the Peacock. Keep it Thursday. I feel like that's the move.
Yeah,
that's the move.
I think so personally, but we shall see. It also depends, I think, on NBC's fall lineup. Last thing I want to mention is something that I doubted on briefly before, is the fact that casting is now open for this upcoming civilian season of The Traitors. Again, you all can apply if you so desire at thetraitorusus.com. Gives you details on how to do so. Pooya, not to look into casting's brain too much, but do you think that they will utilize a fair amount, if not all, applicants? Or do you think this is a show where it's like, hey, you were in the works for Dondi, you're in the works for Destination X Season 2. Can I interest you in a little show called The Traitors?
That'll be interesting to me. I feel like typically with a lot of these shows, that does tend to happen, where if you've already been like in the documents and they've seen you and they've liked you, but they didn't have enough spot for you, they could call you and be like, would you be interested in this? And most people will yes and that, right? It's an opportunity. What am I going to say? No, unless you're really like hell-bent on the one show you're looking to go to. So I think that's possible, but I think what's also going to come of it is you're going to see a lot of people who are clearly applying for the Traitors only that will get their like opportunity here. Like, I don't think, I mean, I've not watched Destination X, admittedly, so I don't know how much their skills can be translated, but I've seen the loud and wrong on Dondi, and that would definitely fit in the Traitors Castle. So I think it could go either way, but hey, y'all put your applications out there, be yourselves. And the only thing I can tell you, because I am not someone who's been on the show, so I can't really give you tips because that would be weird. Yet. But what I will say is start looking at a wardrobe, okay? As someone who's a hoodie guy, don't do this. Do not wear. They're giving us civilians the chance to be great. Let's dress like it. Let's not take a step back here.
I would say that on the one hand, also, as we watch this season, let's remember the fact that these people have budgets comparative to the celebrity version monumentally shrunken,
That's
as
true.
Opposed to it. Think about it like a Drag Race All-Stars versus Drag Race regular version, where it's like, hey, you know what? Their fits might not be as great as Carolyn Weiger's, but also like they don't have reality TV money and appearance fees to help back that up.
I mean, I'm not beneath going to like a Halloween store and buying costumes of fictitious characters that are like cheaper product, but will look fine for a day.
Yeah. So, I mean, the other thing about it is, yes, and I have come forward on a lot of these podcasts to say that, like, I'm not against recruits. I think as long as, if you don't know the game, as long as you study up on the game relatively ahead of time, maybe don't just ask Chat GPT or go to Reddit, like, then I'm fine. I have fun watching you sort of figure out the game as it goes along. But when I'm looking at a lot of these, especially shows that have come out like in the past year or so, looking at like the newbie casts of Dondi, again, Destination X, something like The Snake on Fox, it does make me remember, like, okay, as much fun as it is to watch some of our favorite celebrities get a chance to be in a new environment in a castle in Scotland, there's a lot of great potential reality TV talent out there. And again, I think this show will live or die by the traitorous idea of casting in general. And given what I've seen lately of sort of the newbies that have popped up on our screen, I do have a sense of optimism that they will find a really, if they're looking for it, again, depending on their perspectives that they're going for, a really lively, varied group that is passionate about this show and subsequently will hopefully make the best TV as a result.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're listening out there, traders. Hello, I'm Pooya. Please do not inject like one person that's celebrity in this. Let them, at least the first season, give them a try. Let's see what they do. If it's all just like regular people who do not have a clue of who each other is, before we look into like, okay, we'll pinch two of you and put you in this season instead. Let's just let them cook a little bit. Let's see. Listen, they could underperform. It's possible, and we'll definitely say it if they do. But they could also like really, become standouts, and that could be fun too.
So I'm really excited about this. Again, as someone who found and fell in love with this franchise through an all-civilian season, it does give me a lot of excitement for not only the Traitors US, but also the Traitors brand, that they have gone with not only 2 seasons a year, but an all-civilian version with this differentiation between focuses. Alan will sort of be the common element between both, but it makes me very excited about the longevity of this brand as well. So again, these are sort of the small details that we know. I believe that filming is going to kick off in March, so we're about several months away from that happening. I'm sure more details will come out in the intervening months. But Pooya, any final thoughts about the wonderful news we got to receive yesterday?
No, it's a blessing. I feel like, the Traitors business is booming. The show is completely becoming bigger and bigger with each passing day. Before this announcement, Mike, I was looking at my schedule starting the end of this month, and I'm pretty much talking Traitors all the way until March. So we've got Ireland coming in 2 weeks, then we've got Celebrity UK, then we've got Canada 3, then we've got UK regular UK 4, then we've got US 4, and that's not even counting the fact that New Zealand has been renewed and coming back. Now we've got this to look forward to coming back in the fall next year. So it's a blessing. We're cooking.
Well, it is a blessing to have you on. Always great to hear you talk Traitors. Of course, we want to hear from you all as well. Let us know your thoughts. Does an all-civilian version without celebrities sound appealing to you? Do you want to check it out? What are your thoughts about what this might mean for the Traitors in general? Feel free to let us know in the comments on social media. Pooya, you pretty much outlined, your planner through the spring of 2026. But anything else you have going on at this particular moment that you want to plug?
So aside from all the Trader seasons that we're going to be juggling, I'll be talking with Liana every week over on the Pooya and Liana Lounge. Specifically for this week, if you're not watching this in a time capsule, we did a Freaky Friday episode where I dressed up and behaved as Liana. Liana dressed up and behaved as me. And let me tell you,
incredible visual.
Thank you. As a married couple, it was equal parts therapeutic and weird because I was like, what? Like there were moments where I'm like, I sound douchey. Am I douchey or are you making me sound douchey?
Yeah, it is because weird, right? To be like, it's that mirror, that funhouse mirror held up in front of you of like, well, this is what you act like, albeit in a more exaggerated version of yourself.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know about this. So, but no, we had fun there. So check that out. And then find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. I'm doing a lot of different things right now. More streams per week than I have done in years. So come through, check those out, see if which one's fit for you.
And of course, Pooya and I are both part of the lovingly named Recap Bitches, covering the new season of Australian Survivor, AU versus the World, that starts this Sunday. The two of us alongside Chappelle will be joining Shannon and Gus for each and every episode. So again, speaking of, all-star reality TV legend laden seasons, if you're a fan of Australian Survivor, feel free to check that out and check out our coverage as well. In addition to all the stuff that Pooya and I have going on in terms of Big Brother, I just announced actually the cast of The Amazing Race 38 was announced, and I got on the line with Taron Armstrong to break down this cast specifically from a Big Brother perspective, what you need to know about them. There's more coverage to come of that. Eventually, Survivor 49 is going to be coming down the pike too. So as you're sort of mentioning, Pooya, we had a bit of a summer break here, even though, again, I think our engines were kept a bit warm in the form of Big Brother, but it's going to start building to a fall fever pitch before we know it. So we are incredibly grateful to those of you that are checking out not only the Traitors coverage, not only the Reality Flash, but all the stuff we have going on here as well.
Yeah, it's honestly, there was a couple of years ago, Mike, maybe like 3, 4, 5 years ago, where we were like, we don't have enough television. Like, there's not a lot of TV out there. And my God, 2025 me looks back at 2020 me and goes, you dummy, you have no idea what's about to happen. Because it's almost a sport to keep up with all these shows now. But it's also a time where we are blessed to have all these options and podcasts to back them if you're looking for some complimentary, content on top of that. And choice paralysis can be real, but at the end of the day, as long as you're enjoying the stuff you're watching, who can complain?
And with a myriad of reality TV comes a myriad of reality TV news. So again, if you want to let me know what needs to be covered here on the Reality Flash, just tips at therealityflash.com, or reach out to me at a Mike Bloom type to put things across my desk, and I will pop on here whenever the news comes across that we need to get into your eyes and your ears for you to know ASAP. Again, start applying for the Traitors if you want to end up getting into this wildly fantastic game, thetraitorsUS.com. That's going to do it for this episode of The Reality Flash. I'll be back in your eyes and ears soon with more reality TV news as it breaks. Thank you again so much, Pooya, for coming onto the podcast. Thank you all, as always, so much for listening. Until next time, everybody, you've just been flashed.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.